The only words to say about this game are hell yeah and Aday Mara emergence.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this reaction episode of Locked On UCLA. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making the show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download, review. Thanks for your support. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. New customers can bet $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And we're going to get started. Boy, oh boy, what a huge win for the Bruins. Evens up their Big Ten record. They get to 13-6 overall, beat a top 20 team at home, where UCLA wins this 85-83. They started out as red hot from the floor as you could be, and then Wisconsin showed, hey, they're not going to miss any three-point shots, all right, including Tonje, who went 8 of 9 from the floor and hit 6 threes. Let's not forget Blackwell, who had 23 points. 2 Wisconsin Badgers combined for 47 of Wisconsin's 83 points. And you're thinking, if it's a high-scoring game, UCLA trailing at the half, UCLA not stopping the three, because Wisconsin coming in, I believe, averaged 9 3-point makes a game. They hit 15. They went 50% from the field, 50% from three, shot 21 free throws. You'd think everything spells doom and gloom for the Bruins. No, because Aday Mara had his signature standout moment as a UCLA Bruin. Huge. UCLA constructed this team to be able to have some sort of contribution from big men. All right. It's not going to come in both ways like a Dembona was able to do in recent years, but you mix in a big block from William Kyle III in his 6 minutes of action. I thought he had a decent few minutes of action early, but then Aday Mara comes in, 21 minutes off the bench, 22 points, 7 of 7, 5 boards, and 8 of 11 for the free throw line when he's a 60% free throw shooter. 2 blocks. That's about as dominant as a performance as you can get. Because UCLA, we've seen this year, they needed production from the post. They have needed the production. And in a game where UCLA dominated Iowa, they saw the likes of William Kyle, extra dominant against Iowa. Aday Mara didn't even play. In this game, after Kyle's best game as a Bruin, you flip that and go to Mara and come out, and he has his best game as a Bruin. And is Kyle sitting there pouting on the bench? No, because he comes out and makes the game-winning block when UCLA was up 2 and Wisconsin was going for the tie with a great read, a great jump, and swatting away the shot. Now, let's not forget some good action from Dylan Andrews, who had 9.7 boards and only 1 turnover. That's great action there. Sky Clark was hitting some threes, step back. Even Bilodeau and Eric Daly Jr. were in some foul trouble. Bilodeau, though, 16 points, shot much better than in some recent games. And then Eric Daly Jr. Usually some things have been similar in lots of UCLA losses. Normally they can't shoot. They get torched inside, and the opposition's shooting pretty well. And Eric Daly Jr. is either unavailable or he doesn't have a good game. In this case, Daly Jr. had one of his roughest games as a Bruin. Only took 5 shots, hit a couple of nice shots, 3 rebounds, 4 personal fouls in 22 minutes. All right, that normally spells doom. But that's where you bring in the extra scoring from Clark, who had 12 points, 5 boards, 4 assists. Andrew's ability to share the basketball. Oh, let's not forget, UCLA has a dynamo off the bench in Sebastian Mack, who can score 19 to 20 points. We're not going to see this much where UCLA is always going to score 40 points off the bench with 2 guys, but we did. And we saw both Kobe Johnson have foul trouble, Eric Daly Jr. in foul trouble. Bilodeau wasn't forced to do everything, and when the Bruins realized, hey, Mara is dominating, he got the roll in some of those shots where sometimes he leaves them short and then was jamming it down. And I don't know if you're flexing at home, if you're sitting there like, let's go. I know Mata's still working on the biceps, and Mick Cronin had his big man flexed for the crowd before. But that just felt like, oh no. If the Bruins can unleash these twin beasts in the post, right? Kyle's defense, Mata's mixture of a little defense and some offensive prowess, a couple more rebounds, then all of a sudden this is a new team. All right. The way UCLA has been pounded inside, it's been, okay, we need the production. And Mata got the opportunity and was absolutely fantastic. In this game, UCLA shot okay from three. They're red hot early and a little bit ice cold in that second half. They went 1 of 5 because the Bruins shot 60% in the second half and got a dominant portion of their points in the paint, scoring 50 points. How often has UCLA in recent years in a Mick Cronin coach team been able to outscore teams? Normally, they've been able to get a 70 point. They've been able to get a team in the 60s, but Wisconsin wasn't missing. They hit every three. They are what? I saw the stat on the broadcast. They are about to break the NCAA record for made free throws percentage-wise in a season. They currently have an average in the mid-80s, and we know UCLA is a sub 70% free throw shooting team. So that mismatch in a free throw shooting contest all favors Wisconsin. A team hitting threes, playing up tempo. Good for the Badgers. And the Bruins won that game. That's where some of the energy from the home crowd, UCLA only turning it over 7 times, and a rare opportunity where, yes, UCLA got out-rebounded, but for a Wisconsin team that statistically is one of the better defensive rebounding teams in the Big Ten, in an area where UCLA has struggled, they can lose the rebounding battle, but when they had more offensive rebounds, 10 second chance points, and outscored the Badgers plus 10 in points in the paint, UCLA is flexing their muscle a little bit. UCLA did lead this game for the majority, but it felt so much back and forth. 4 times the game was tied. 6 times the lead changed. That's got to give you a lot more confidence moving forward if you're UCLA Bruins in a stretch where, hey, they've got 7 games on the West Coast. 5 at home, 1 in the Galen Center, and another in Seattle. That's the furthest trip they're going to take for a few weeks until we get to the early middle part of February. Chance to rest, recover, get settled after everything that's gone on or off the court. Rest your sea legs, if you will, right, with all the traveling the Bruins have had to do. And that's an effort, even though it's high scoring, even though Cronin can nitpick about how, yes, we weren't able to stop the 3, to beat some of these Big Ten teams at home or on the road, or even at some point in an NCAA tournament or Big Ten tournament, you're going to have to score as well. Defense wins championships, but you're going to need to play offense to win games. And that's what the Bruins got with the dynamic duo of Mack and Mata. Fantastic right there. We'll talk more about it in a second. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. If you win your first bet, that's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is super easy to navigate with a variety of bets that makes every game exciting. Whether you win, you're not going to have to wait around for your winnings. And if it's betting on your favorite team, if it's just looking to add some extra excitement here in the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets on FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Man, what a game. What a game. A high-scoring thriller. Who says that in a UCLA home win in the Mick Cronin era? That just doesn't happen. That just does not happen all too often. But the way Cronin constructed this team and how he's hoped Mata would progress from year 1 to year 2, I don't know if you're at the game, if you're listening to the game, watching the game. Look at how the Wisconsin Badgers, you saw, 3 of their guys went from either one in the transfer portal or 2 of them on the team the previous year, 2, 3, 4, 6 points a game, and they're all averaging double figures, right? What UCLA has needed and hasn't necessarily gotten is players who are in the rotation last year, on the roster last year, have not, if you looked at the Wisconsin numbers, not made that same progress offensively from one year to the next. Aday Mara, we've been waiting for that breakout moment. And I think this is the chance where he's either going to earn those 20 minutes off the bench or maybe he's going to come on the starting lineup. Now, I think Cronin likes the way his starting five can come out and compete right away, and that allows Mara to be spared throughout the game, so we might not see Aday early on, but maybe that means William Kyle might sneak in the starting lineup, give them that physical defensive presence early. It's just nice to see where UCLA in a key stretch in a game where they're down at the half by 5, down 9 with like 10 seconds to go, and a crucial foul against Wisconsin call that led to 2 MAC free throws and the ball, make a jumper, get that within 5. That brought UCLA a lot of confidence going in the half. They go on a mini run, and then boom, the Bruins win it. The largest run for this game in UCLA was 6-0. Wisconsin's largest run was an 8-0 run. So this was a lot of back and forth scoring, but it was chipping in. You're down 9, get 4 points here. Down 1, 4 here. Outscoring teams 4-1 in mini spurts in a high-scoring game is what UCLA had to do. Wasn't their most dominant defensive play, but was Cronin going to hang his hat on? He put Kyle back in, a guy that was somewhat cold off the bench when your dominant big man has been on fire, and he gets the win on a defensive block. Now they just have to make a couple of free throws, survive Mara being in the game and running over Wisconsin due to that final play with half a second left, and make some free throws, but it was truly won when the shot was blocked by William Kyle III, who cannot be forgotten with his solid play against Iowa. And I thought, even though statistically he didn't do much other than the block, I thought I liked his minutes early on. And what was truly remarkable was how good the Bruins were rebounding the basketball. I talked about 2 keys prior to this game: 3-point defense / makes, with UCLA being active in the paint, rebounding the basketball. Well, they clearly couldn't stop the Wisconsin Badgers. Clearly could not stop Tonje from splashing down threes. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different players for Wisconsin who hit a 3. Almost all of them had at a better than 50% clip. Most of them by Tonje, like that step back 3 at the end to make it what was then a 1-point game. Everything for UCLA could have gone wrong, and they stuck together. You saw the energy. You saw the frustration. You saw 2 players foul out and have a technical like Blackwell and Kobe Johnson. Everybody talks about how this team is a bunch of mercenaries, but this team has passion. They're clearly playing for one another. Yes, it helps a little bit better when you got the backing of a home crowd that wants to give you that energy, that knows the importance of a top 20 win, another quad 1 win for UCLA. I think that's number 4 or 5 at this point for the Bruins. For a team that we've seen fade for the month of January, has got 2 strong wins to close it out, and now coming up, you've got 2 semi-winnable road games. I'm not going to say winning at Washington will be easy on a Friday night. I'm not going to say that winning at USC is going to be any easier on a Monday night, because they've gone to Illinois and won. But winning at the Galen Center, hey, that's not going to be the same as going to play at one of these Big Ten places, right? Whether it's Washington or USC, although I expect the USC game to be close to sold out, I would think, even though it's on a Monday night. UCLA, those are very different trips than going across to play a sold-out crowd at Rutgers, a big-time energetic crowd at Maryland on a Friday night after a long trip to Lincoln, back to LA, over to Maryland. You don't have to do that. So 2 very winnable road games. And what I've said about Big Ten contention this year for UCLA, the benefit is UCLA gets to play Oregon, Washington, and USC twice. Obviously, that's going to be the case because of travel. But the hope is you sweep Washington and you sweep SC. You can't bank on sweeping Oregon. And the way Mick Cronin and the UCLA Bruins have played USC in recent years, you can't bank on that either. But playing USC twice is a hell of a lot different than going over and, as you see, playing Maryland or Rutgers twice. You're going to split that matchup. And I'm not saying USC is a cupcake win. No. They've got big chances. But you're going to get up and you're going to play in front of a revved-up crowd that's only like not that far of a drive. It could be bad traffic one day, but it's not that far of a drive. Huge for UCLA, where they can bank a couple wins if they play well. Washington, with the Bruins already being the once, and their first look at USC nationally televised on a Monday night battle before they rematch against Oregon, Michigan State, and Penn State. 3 very tough home matchups coming up and 2 winnable road games. If the Bruins can go 5-2 in the stretch that they're already 2-0 on, that solidifies their spot in the tournament in my mind. That would just solidify it. As you look at the Joe Lunardi bracket, UCLA is a 9 seed and fading down. Last I checked, I think they were 9 seed, but they get moved further and further down, which moves that first round pairing all the way across to the East Coast for a team that's going to be a little tired of the airplane come NCAA tournament time. And they still got to do that for the Sweet 16, Elite 8. Yes, I know you get chartered planes, you get so much pomp and circumstance to go with these tournament games. But the more you win, the easier matchups you get, the more tired they're going to be still having to go to Indianapolis for the Big Ten tournament. UCLA could be like, hey, win some of these games. You can play closer to the West Coast. I think the closest West Coast first round games will be in Denver. And then you get UCLA, hopefully in the West Regional, which is in San Francisco. So much closer than these other places. Very proud of what this team put forth today. It's a game where you saw no points from Stefanovic. We saw limited scoring from one of their better players in Eric Daly Jr., and UCLA pulled it out and hopefully unleashed something new. This message is brought to you by PrizePicks, the place to get real money sports action. Over 10 million members, billions in winnings. PrizePicks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Playoffs, regular season. PrizePicks has made it easier than ever to win big, enjoying all the football action. And now that it's playoff time, no better way to win and get in on the action because, hey, this is how it works. PrizePicks. You pick more or less on at least 2 players. If your pick hits, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right, 1,000 times your money just by making a few picks. All right, go check out a couple of players. Go check out Josh Allen. Go check out Travis Kelce. Check out their numbers. Pick more or less on what they're going to do, whether it's passing yards for Josh Allen, maybe it's receiving yards for Kelce, or touchdowns. Check it out. It's fun. It's fun to predict, easy to play. PrizePicks Flex Play. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. And you can get your winnings fast in as little as 15 minutes. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. That's just $50 for just playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with PrizePicks. PrizePicks, run your game. All right. So UCLA, man, that's a huge win. Think about the roller coaster ride UCLA has been on in a little less than a month. They went and played in I'm looking at the schedule since December 21st. All right, looking at December 21st. That's when UCLA blew that game to North Carolina. UCLA could have been 11-1, something close to that after a big win against Prairie View, and A&M lost it. So we felt bad for a week. Then they go into the new year with a strong win against Gonzaga. Well, Gonzaga's now lost a few, and the win maybe has a little less shine, but a big non-conference win on neutral court. First game of the new year, you go to Nebraska, ugly, cool. Michigan, everything going on in the state of LA a couple weeks ago, in addition to Cronin calling his team soft and delusional. Oh, by the way, later in the week, he gets tossed, was tired of the team, calls out the officials, and the Bruins look awful in an 18-point loss. You come back, you play Rutgers, back and forth, don't look into it, had a chance to get back into it and lose that game late. Only to respond 4 days later with a dominant spanking of the Iowa Hawkeyes, and then turn that around into a huge back and forth win against a top 20 Wisconsin team that came in 15-3. All right. That's a team that's beaten Arizona, absolutely smacked Iowa. Huge win for UCLA on their home floor. Even though they are favored by 3.5, it didn't look likely in certain moments of in that game, but UCLA has learned now to win another way. A high-scoring back-and-forth thriller that you don't want to get into a track meet on the road, but if you're at home, you should try and win more of those games. Not every game should be a track meet, up and down, back and forth, high-scoring game, but most of these Big Ten teams, you look at them, they can all score points. They can all shoot it. What are they going to do in the cold where there's nothing to do? They're going to go shoot threes until they can bury them 10 out of 10 times with the man in their face or when a man's not guarding them. So UCLA, even if they're not forcing 20 turnovers, it's going to have to improve on that. But they also have the offense with what they brought in, the 16 points from Bilodeau, getting a couple of points here and there from these new guys, and the development from the first years into second years, putting in big work. Andrews showcasing, hey, he can take care of the basketball instead of just turning it over, tripping over his feet. If they're not going to take it from him, he's not going to give it to you. And Sebastian Mack, if he's going to get fouled, he will make his free throws. Aday Mara, similar thing, getting boards, getting a couple blocks, and then saying, hey, I'm going to jam it on these knuckleheads and flex on them at the same time. And when he did that first time, I said, uh-oh, this is going to be the breakout performance for the Spaniard, this 7-3 weapon UCLA has been hoping and developing behind the scenes, right? You think of the bad guy in any sort of superhero movie, or maybe it's the hero, whatever you want to watch, right? They're developing, they're maybe training behind the scenes, they're developing that super weapon, good or bad. And that's what UCLA's had right now with Mara just waiting in the wings, hoping for that opportunity. And when the game needed him, not only did he just contribute, he flat out dominated. And they don't need 20 points every game for Aday Mara. But if he chips in 10 and 5 in 15 to 20 minutes, you get a couple of clutch blocks from William Kyle. That is so much more than what they're getting. And that is how this team is constructed to win a national championship. Get the contributions from those guys. Cronin is good enough to maybe help this team move along, but they're not good enough to be great night in and night out if they don't have contributions from all these different guys. Any different night. I'm going to have to go back and look for the next podcast, but how many different players have led this team in scoring on a given night now into mid to late January? We've gone from UCLA as a top 15 team to out of the rankings, falling out of the tournament, to now back-to-back solid wins, dominant fashion in one, close late-game thriller in the other, to beat the Badgers, to beat the Hawkeyes. And that's somewhat solidifying their spot in the NCAA tournament. If it's not already with the quad one opportunities, you win 2 more games against Washington and SC, you avoid some potential bad losses there, and maybe you hold on against Penn State, you beat an Oregon or Michigan State. That would be, 2-ish quad one wins, maybe a third, depending on where Iowa ranks, quad one, quad two. You get some good wins on the road that could help build that resume. Next thing you know, UCLA 13-6. They're above 500 in Big Ten play. Easier path in the Big Ten tournament. And next thing you know, life's a lot easier when you get to the NCAA tournament, proving they can do this time and time again. I've liked what they've done. They are now 10-1 at home. A lot of those have been cupcakes. Some of those have been thrillers. They've played life in the neutral court. They now have to stack wins in true road games. Their only true road win of the year has been against a legacy Pac-12 school in Oregon. They get 2 more legacy Pac-12 schools coming up. And here are the next tough road games in my mind, beyond just these ones coming up. They get all this West Coast stay until February 8th. Then it's around the Valentine's Day week when they get Illinois on the road, huge Tuesday night matchup. And then you get Indiana on Valentine's Day night. That could be another huge boost where you got Indiana floating with first 4 out to last 4 in. Illinois, who looked like world beaters and then lost at home to USC. So none of these games are gimmies. None of them. I just enjoy being on the West Coast for 3 weeks at a time, a couple weeks at a time, and UCLA has a chance to go on a run. Now, if they fade a couple, okay, they're going to sit in the 8-9 seed. This is a chance they can go from flirting with the 11 seed like they did a couple years ago to earning themselves a 4, 5, dare I say a 3 seed with a good stretch, because we've seen that before. Teams playing the Big Ten. Oh, what? That team looks like they're garbage. And then after 2 or 3 losses, they figure it out. And they go on a 10-2 stretch, win some games, beat some teams in some rematches, and then they earn a top 3 seed in their region. UCLA is capable from being anywhere into a top 3 or 4 seed all the way down to playing in the first 4 with what we've seen this year. Now, you unleash some of these weapons, you get players playing in their roles that they were designed to be in prior to the season. Cronin built this team similar to what they did in the first 4 to Final 4 run. You had a smallish big man, you got guys who can make tough shots, some shooters, a veteran point guard, a lot more options, a lot more depth. And now we're starting to see it in this game where UCLA trots out 9 players, and for the most part, all contributed. Other than Stefanovich's 8 minutes, Kyle had the biggest block of the game. Mac and Mata, the M&Ms, put up 41 points off the bench. No team's going to be able to compete with 41 points off your bench from 2 players to 12. Wisconsin, yeah, they all hit threes, but they can't blow up like Mac can, and definitely none of them could have guarded Aday Mara. This team could be on the precipice of something great. This could be just the tip of the iceberg, but something really good. Something really good is on the horizon for UCLA. It's just a matter of if Cronin is going to believe in his team, if the matchups work out for what he wants these guys to do, like Mara, you break out. Can that mean he dominates against Washington, who had great Osabor? And he's only 6'8", 6'9". He scored a lot of points against the Bruins. Should be another matchup where UCLA sends their big seven-footer out there to dominate. Sounds like a great opportunity or a great defensive assignment for William Kyle III to go try and stop Osabor. Big challenges coming up, and we'll learn if this is something that can be consistent or if it's something, all right, it was a one-game splash, one-game flurry. I don't think so. And if Cronin has his team ready to win this year, then it won't just be a flash in the pan, right? It won't be just a little lightning in a bottle. They'll go out and prove they can do something with this team, all right? That's going to do it for us here on Locked On UCLA. Get your hands up, Bruins fans. I know you're fired up. I am fired up with you guys. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.